So doing that, it really freed me up to say, you know what? If my kids go to class unprepared, they will learn from that. And some kids, I mean, I know Elijah, if he faltered on, if our tutors, if they didn't read the chapter or whatever they were supposed to read that week, they could not be part of the conversation. They had to sit and be quiet. And they don't like to sit and be quiet. So that was just right there, that motivated him to get his reading done each week. How did I check that he was reading? Well, there's a Words Aptly Spoken guide that has great chapter questions that I would just talk through with him. It wasn't an assessment I gave him, it wasn't this fill in the test. I would just ask him a question, he would answer it, and I would know he read that part of the book. So it's a real easy thing, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, but it does take time. And I had to commit my time if I was going to expect him to commit his. So, you know, challenge is a drop-off. Parents don't go to class necessarily with their kids all the time. I went to class. We love for parents to come to class, but you cannot drop out, okay? Drop off, but don't drop out. And our challenge directors will agree with me that the more parent involvement we have, the more successful the kids will be with the curriculum. The other thing is you determine what works for your family. If you can't read a book this week, or if you can't participate in the debate, guess what? You email the director and say, hey, we're going to opt out of this because of this sickness, because of vacation. This guide is just a guide, and although our directors will hold a high standard, they're going to expect, if they haven't heard from the parents, they're going to expect the kids to do the work. But you are the teacher, remember. So you determine, okay, we're not going to do this. And debate could be, if you're not going to participate in a debate, they work on debates for several weeks. So that part of the class, your child might work on something else while the kids are doing debate. It's just up to you. But again, you determine that. And if you're struggling at home and you just can't get it all done, that is okay, and you have permission. You can say, hey, the regional manager came and she said that I didn't, and the director's probably going, don't tell them they're going to have to do less. I think that we tend to set the bar low for our kids, and I really do think that challenge, the expectation that it puts on our kids, they own it. When they own it and they do it, they are very proud of what they've done. They are proud of those maps that they draw, because it is hard work, and they did it. When they translate those Latin sentences in class, they know that they worked really hard that week, and they did it, and they're proud. So let's encourage our kids to do it, even though we're tired. Just because we're tired and it's hard doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. Okay, so it just might mean we need to prioritize our day and make time for it. Okay, so it's your education, that's challenge A. Challenge B focuses more on self-management. So we've shifted from time management to self-management. What's the difference?
They have to be diligent to do what they need to do in the time to give them.
Right. Right. I mean, my boys dilly-dallied, and they would be doing school till 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I'm thinking, I can't keep doing this. So I set an hour. You have 1 hour. Okay? If you don't get it done in the hour, I think math sometimes took a little bit longer, and we allotted for that. But for the most part, every subject can be done in 1 hour. So your challenge students will be spending potentially 6 hours a day. Okay? So that, I mean, it's not a hard thing. They would be doing that if they were in another education place. More so, it would be more than 6 hours. But sitting there, you know, if it takes you longer than an hour, if that bell went off and you weren't done, that was homework for that night. So they had homework. And that only lasted about a week. They realized, oh, I can't get this done in an hour. So they have to learn to manage themselves. And if we're not allowing them to, if we are controlling and manipulating everything to make sure that it's all working out, they're never going to learn this piece. And as you look at, as they get older, if they don't have self-management, the next pieces won't work. Because with the next focus is going to come, our theme here is freedom. So if you haven't worked on self-management with your children, this freedom is going to be really hard for you. Our kids at this age, so this would be challenge 1, they're reading books about freedom, they're talking about, you know, they do the I, Isaac, take thee, Rebecca, is that the name of it? So they begin to talk about dating and talk about different things. And not so much, that's not necessarily a curriculum, but I will tell you, every conversation will lead to dating at that age. So just be aware of that. That study talks about marriage, what godly marriage looks like. They're supposed to interview you and how your marriage, it's all about a time of talking about marriage, and it's freedom. Really, it's talking about freedom and managing themselves, and if they're not managing themselves well, this freedom piece is not going to work. So they're reading things, they're writing things about freedom, they're having discussions, policy debates, presentations, and we really begin to purposely integrate that biblical worldview with our directors. Philosophy is a strand that we do. That is changing, so I hate to even mention it. I don't think it's changing until next year, but they begin to research different philosophies of the world, and they do a report on it. So 2 of my boys did Rastafarianism, Lauren did Greek mythology. All of those different pieces of philosophy, there are truth there. And they have to navigate, well, what's truth and what is not of God. So you begin giving them more freedom to search things online. And that was a big thing. They begin to do research using the computer. So, if they don't know how to self-manage and not go and play this game or get on Facebook when they're supposed to be researching, that's the minimal thing that can happen. I'm not talking about the grave things that can happen, because your kids can get lost in that. But if they don't know how to manage themselves when they're, okay, I'm looking up, documents, because when they're debating, they're looking up articles to have for their debate. And they might be on the computer 2 or 3 hours just researching for their debate topic. They need to know how to self-manage, to not somebody, as somebody in CC, they use Quizlet. Our kids use Quizlet, and they play games against each other with the Latin and the anything that they're studying. They put every vocabulary word in Quizlet, and then they would bling each other, and they would play games against each other, and it was all fun and good, but if you're supposed to be doing research for debate, you shouldn't be on Quizlet playing games with your friends. So, freedom and liberty, big concept that year. What big thing, if your child's 15-ish, what big thing are they getting ready to do? Drive. The ultimate freedom. They go to the grocery store without mom. So with freedom comes choices, okay? So they have the keys to this car, and they say that they're going to this movie with their friends, right? If they haven't learned how to self-manage and how to use their freedom well, they're going to go see the wrong movie. They're going to go, it's all in how they've been taught, this virtue, this character, have we worked on that? And with freedom comes choices, and what kind of choices are our kids going to make? I would love to say my kids made all of the right choices through high school. They didn't. Every one of them made a bad choice somewhere along the way. And the next guiding theme of Challenge 3 is consequences, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but this idea of choices and the choices that affect others around them, that it's not just them. It's a pivotal piece in their development. And what I love about the challenge and the fact that we do have these guiding themes beyond the academics, because you can look at the academics. I could focus on, okay, apology of science does this, this, and this, but I think to me, these themes are more important that we do in challenge. Anybody could take this and go do challenge on their own if they want to, pick these books and follow this. But this is the missing piece. And I believe that in community, this is where they begin, okay, I made these things. Our kids opened up with each other about choices they made, and they would say, well, that was dumb to do. Why did you do that? And they would hold each other accountable. So, the choice to come to class unprepared, and the consequence that comes with that. Whether you're you're on a debate team and you didn't do your piece, that directly affects your partner. And they need to feel that. They need to feel the consequence of those choices. So I love the fact that it's right where our kids are emotionally and spiritually, and challenge just it facilitates this process in a healthy way. Consequences is our next theme for Challenge 3. They read R.C. Sproul's book, The Consequence of Ideas. So, mainly talking about ideas in philosophy, ideas in culture, but then it's the consequences of their own ideas. And what they believe and what consequences will come if you keep believing that. What lies are they being told that if you keep believing this? One of the books that I know my boys kind of picked up right before this time, but Entertaining Ourselves to Death, I don't know if you know that book, or Do Hard Things. That's a red book. It's great for your teenagers to read, the Do Hard Things. It just deals with culture and how these choices and the consequences that come, they don't have to be our kids' choices. They don't have to be your choice. You can make a difference. You can choose to not do that. So